I just want to take a look at finding the following function composition with domains and roots. So it says consider the functions f of x equals negative 3x minus 3. So this is our functions right here. And the other one says g of x equals the square root of negative x minus 7. And we have to determine two pieces of information. So one is this one that says f of g of x. And the other one says the domain of f of g of x. Let's go through the process here. So, to determine f of g of x, what that means is you plug the function g into the function f. Let's be very clear here. I'm going to copy the functions. So this is f of x equals negative 3x minus 3. And then remember, this is g of x equals the square root of negative x minus 7. And these symbols right here that say f of g of x, what that says is plug the function g into the function f. I'm going to emphasize it in a different color. Okay, so this is g of x in black here. That expression right here, this is what represents the function g of x. That whole thing with the root symbol and the negative x and the negative 7, you plug that in for x right here. That's what it means. So let's do this in action. Let's see it. It's going to look like this. The negative 3 you copy. The negative 3 is coming from the function f. Then here you put a space at first. You copy the other negative 3. Let me emphasize this, right? This is the negative 3 in green here. The color. So that's the negative 3 right here. That goes right here. You don't touch that. The negative 3 at the end, you don't touch that. That goes over here. Only the x is replaced with this entire expression. So for that reason here you put exactly as it's written. Negative x minus 7. And that's it. There's nothing else to be done. You don't simplify anything under the root symbol because you have subtraction between negative x and 7. So you cannot distribute the root symbol. You cannot get rid of the root symbol in any fashion. Just leave it. So for the first part, make sure that you see how this is g of x. That's g of x right there, the expression that represents it. That's what it means to find f of g of x. It means plug the function g into the function f. This is called function composition. So that goes in this position right here. Take a look. I'm going to put the following. The negative 3. I'm going to put sqrt. If you're in my class, remember sqrt is short for square root, or you can use the little panel. So this is now negative x minus 7. And then at the end I have the negative 3. The way you type this, negative 3, sqrt within parentheses, negative x minus 7 minus 3. It's a bit hard to see here. Stop the writing a bit. Okay, so this is negative 7 within parentheses. Keep that negative 3. Keep this negative 3 right here separate from the parentheses. Just like this here is negative 3 on the outside. Okay? So negative 3 sqrt, open parentheses, negative x minus 7, close parentheses. Writing here, negative 3 on the outside. Okay. So that's that part. The next part of the question says the following. This is now a second part that says give the domain of f of g of x. So to do that portion, let's work that out. I'm going to have the following. Space here. So to find the domain, what you do is you take the expression under the root symbol, only that expression, nothing else, none of the numbers around it, and not the root symbol, only the expression under the root symbol. So only the negative x minus 7, only that. And you always say it's greater than or equal to 0 in these simple examples. So then you solve that. So that's going to give you negative x. You're going to add 7 to both sides, greater than 7. At the next stage, you divide through by negative 1. So on the left side now, these negatives cancel, and you're down to x. Flip the direction of the inequality so it becomes x less than negative 7. You have to express the answer in interval notation. So that means over here, I'm going to write the following. Let's break down the interval notation. I'm just going to make a copy of this over here. So I have the following. X less than negative 7. Let's break it down. So because this green part is present, the equal to part is present, that means you put your number in, and then you put a bracket next to the number. So the bracket, because of the equal to part. Then you put the number in there. Next part, look carefully. Let me zoom in. You see how this is pointing to the left? It's going to the left, like a little arrow. That means over here, you're going to put the following, comma, and then negative infinity. That gets a parentheses, like that. So this is the interval notation. This is what goes in the second box. So over here in the second box, you're going to put, let me zoom in again. Remember it, negative infinity, comma, negative 7. Remember that. So negative infinity, comma, negative 7, bracket, parentheses, and it looks as shown. Infinity, always parentheses. So that's the first step. Let's now also repeat this in the other direction. You have to do g of f of x. That's a separate step. And then also find the domain. So again, let's write it down. I'm finding this part first. G of f of x as a function. It's a quantity with x in it. The following. G of f of x. So that looks as shown. And remember, f of x is right here. This is f of x. You see that? The expression that represents it is negative 3x minus 3. Remember, f of x is negative 3x minus 3. And then you stick this negative 3x minus 3 into the function g. So the way to do it is put the root symbol. Look at the function g right here. See this? First, put the root symbol down from the function. Put the negative 7 down from the function. Put a space in here. And then also look back at the function. You see in the function, upper right hand corner, there's a negative in front of the x. Copy that right here. That's a negative in front of there. After that, into that space within the parentheses, you stick in the whole function f. So I'm going to do it again. This is my f of x. This is negative 3x minus 3. That's what goes in the space. So negative 3x minus 3. Once that is in place, then you proceed as follows. You're going to have g of f of x. So then you got to work out the expression under the root symbol. Now be very careful here for the following reasons. Let me zoom in. Over here in front of the red parentheses, there's like a little negative. Okay, let me emphasize that negative in green. You got to distribute that to each term inside the parentheses. It's got to go over to this, and it's got to go over to that. So you got to change the signs only inside the parentheses. It has nothing to do with negative 7. Okay, so let's take a look. It's going to look like this now. These two negatives are going to give me positive 3x. The negative on the outside times this negative 3 is going to give me positive 3, and then minus 7. So that looks like that. Then you got to simplify this expression by combining like terms. So this becomes now 3x minus 4, positive 3 minus 7, negative 4. So this first part that says this right here, that goes in the first box. G of f of x is this function right here. We put over here in the box the following. Remember it. The square root of 3x minus 4. SQRT of 3x minus 4, fully simplified. Then it says give the domain of g of f of x. So you take the following. You take only the expression from under the root symbol, which is 3x minus 4 greater than or equal to 0. This step is the same every single time, essentially. You just take whatever the expression is, you say it's greater than or equal to 0. Let's continue. I'm going to add 4. And you need to make this into interval notation. So this becomes 3x greater than or equal to 4. 5. Divide by 3. So you end up with x greater than or equal to 4/3. Again, this has to be converted into interval notation. So let me break it down. Because that is present, the equal to part, you put your bracket like that. Because this part is present, it's pointing to the right. Greater than, you see that x greater than or equal to 4/3 is pointing to the right. you put positive infinity over here in the parentheses. Lastly, you put the number in this position. Whatever the number happens to be, like 4/3. So the color coding is meaningful, keep that in mind. So once that is obtained, then where it says give the domain of g of f of x, you put that in there. So you do that, the fraction, comma, and then positive infinity. Infinity, positive or negative, always parentheses. And that's it.